All right, here we go. Take 27. Zach's with me. He's recording. We're here. What's up, Zach? How we
Yeah,
doing?
doing well. Yeah, no, I sorry about that. I won't lie, guys. It was me. It was my fault this time. Technology definitely beat me on this Friday morning. That's for
Well,
sure.
well, nothing really can kill anybody's mood. I know the snow, so everyone's off school. Most people aren't driving. I'm obviously not in Baltimore, but
Yeah,
technology
no,
allows me to know what's going on in Baltimore. So
yeah, no. I've already looked outside. It's actually snowed a good bit. It's more than I thought it would. Honestly, like I'm at that point with snow where I just don't get my hopes up anymore. Like they say it's gonna snow, and I'm like, it's gonna be rain. Like it's just gonna be rain. So I'm glad it's actual snow this time
well, there's
because
not, and which just leads me to what I was getting ready to say is like nothing can kill the mood right now. This is such a great time to be a Ravens fan. But what we're not gonna do, so the whole point of you being here during the regular season was you don't bet every single day. So just talking to
yeah,
you about sports and getting your opinion, I thought was gonna be beneficial when we're not talking Ravens and Orioles for the people that
mhm,
listen here and follow Jeremy. They're betting every day for the most part. We look at this from a gambling perspective. And then we break down the Ravens. And my goal, I don't necessarily know exactly what I want to do in the future as far as I don't think I want to be an analyst by any means, but I love talking Ravens. I love figuring out what the game plan is going to be. And that's what we're going to do today because what we're not going to do is Stroud versus Lamar, is hardball this, is hardball that. I really want to get into what to expect from this game. I have a bunch of
mhm.
different questions, but I'm going to start us off with I've watched the Texans now for the past 2 weeks, almost every single play. I bet on them against the Colts. I wanted to bet on them against the Browns, but I'm like religiously obligated not to bet against Flacco in the playoffs.
I
So,
was gonna say it's hard to bet against January Joe.
and they were coming back. So it's 24-14 before Flacco pulled a Flacco. It looked like it was going to be 24-21, and Stroud was going to have to be under pressure, and it was going to be exciting to see what happens. All right, so here's how we're going to break down the game. There's no Marlon Humphrey. And
Mhm.
Mike McDonald knows CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, I don't think it matters if he knows Mike McDonald, but Mike McDonald definitely knows CJ Stroud. Um,
Ooh.
we do not want to get beat deep. The Texans have hit the deep ball multiple times the past 2 weeks. However, Stroud will take the check down. They're going
Yeah.
to use the tight end Schultz a ton. The Ravens are aware of all this. The run offense, it's almost like the Texans are determined to get it going, even though they haven't been able to against inferior rush defenses. So here's my thoughts, and then you tell me what you think. If the Texans decide to come out and play similar like they did against the Colts, which
Mhm.
was run, 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 and kind of playing not to lose, I think we
Yeah.
beat them by 17 points. I think if they're in third and sevens and third and eights, I don't think the game's very competitive. However, their guys were wide open last week. I don't know if it's like what the hell happened last week. The Ravens had a tendency, whether it was San Francisco and Miami, before we forced the turnovers, the middle of the field's wide open. Now Humphrey's not there. What I want to know from you, because I'm not 100% sure, I think I know how the Texans are going to try to play it. But what is the
Yeah.
Ravens' defensive strategy? How big of a deal is it not having Humphrey? Go ahead. The floor is yours. I want to hear.
I'm not sure not having Humphrey is as big of a deal as you know people want it to be. It definitely hurts. You definitely don't feel great not having Humphrey out there. I would prefer him to be out there, but he's missed 8 games, or I believe this will be number 8 already this year. So the Ravens defense has been playing without him. They've been playing at a high level without him. Ronald Darby and Brandon Stevens have both stepped up, but I think you hit the nail on the head there with the Texans just constantly beat the Browns deep last week. And it was, if you go back and look at, I was watching some film and just bad defense by the Browns, if I'm being honest. They were more concerned with stopping underneath stuff and they kept getting beat deep and the safeties wouldn't get there. And that's how we saw Nico Collins, it feels like, wide open every other play. So I think Mike McDonald's going to be don't get beat deep. He's going to be okay with the 5 yard check down to Dalton Schultz. He'll be okay with they get 3 yard screen to Nico Collins. What he doesn't want is the 80-yard touchdown that suddenly gets the Texans back in the game. So I think he's going to want to make Stroud meticulously pick them down the field. We talked about how we've seen in the past 2 games, the middle of the field has really been wide open against the Ravens defense, especially early. And I think that's almost by design. The Ravens are trying to not get beat deep. So they're saying, okay, we'll let you get the ball right there for 7 yards and we're going to converge and tackle you. And we're betting that by the time you get to play 8, 9, 10 on the drive, we're going to force you to make a mistake. We're
And I
going to
think
go make the play.
and I think that works against most quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Where is your confidence level? So it's first quarter, it's 3rd and 5 for the Texans at their own 37, right? They're playing it a little tight. They get to that 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4. Is that a Ravens win for you? Do you feel comfortable in that spot?
Yeah. If it's weirdly enough with this Ravens defense, especially with the way I think Roquan is playing in the middle of like stuffing, and especially Kyle Hamilton stuffing the run close. 3rd down, I'm not as worried. I'm almost more worried on 3rd and like 10s
Hmm.
because I feel like that's when we just do stupid stuff. We get those stupid flags, roughing the pass or whatever it may be. But I feel like on 3rd and shorts and stuff, especially like what we just talked about, the Texans, they try to establish the run a lot, but it's not necessarily their strong point. So I could see the Ravens winning 3rd and shorts all the way up until, I think the Ravens defense is going to dominate 3rd downs. I think with the pressure, Mike McDonald's going to bring the simulated pressures, really trying to play with the mind of the rookie quarterback of who's coming, who's not. Did 6 guys drop? Did 6 guys cut? It's all going to be a mind game with Mike. And I think that's where the Ravens have the advantage, especially like you said, he knows Stroud.
So let's go to the other side. The way that I don't want to be negative, just like to point out, from the coaching perspective and kind of what we're looking at here. So D'Amico Ryans was he won't be a Hall of Fame linebacker, but he is in that
Yeah.
next level though. He was really, really good for a lot of years. And this is like a dream scenario for him with Lamar, right? Because as the middle linebacker, you're like, if I can just slow him down, if I can spy him, if I can figure out how to stop Lamar, then we can win the game. So D'Amico Ryan's obviously not playing. He's coaching. We look at the Texans linebackers, and that's where they're weak. They're weak in coverage. Their safeties are weak in coverage. They have Stingley on the outside, and they have Nelson on the outside, who by any account are solid corners, in the top echelon of the league. And their front with they got Jonathan Greenard and they got Barnett. They got Will Anderson, the rookie. They do have some guys that can get after the quarterback. However, it's the linebackers and the middle of the field where the Ravens can go to work, and they got their tight ends, whether Andrews plays or doesn't. So let's try to get inside the head of D'Amico and what the approach is going to be for the Texans, because the one thing the Texans have done a great job of against Flacco and then Garden Minshew, which both can't move, but they blitzed. They had like some timely blitzes with Christian Harris in particular, just automatically in there. Are we worried? What are we thinking here? Talk to me, Ravens approach here on offense and anything that you're worried about.
I don't necessarily I think the Texans are going to, off the bat, try to blitz to make something happen, maybe force Lamar into an early mistake, because I think they know, and, D'Amico Ryan's, like you said, he's played in the league. He understands this. He's a great competitor. I think they're going to want to put pressure on Lamar early, knowing that whether he says it or not, his playoff record and how he plays in the playoffs is going to be in the back of his head, and he wants to go out and prove people wrong. So putting pressure on him, making him try to make an early mistake, I think will be kind of the Texans' game plan, but I'm not sure that's going to work, because if you look at how well Lamar has played against the blitz recently, and I think that's going to be an area of strong suit. Guys like Does Mark Andrews play? If not, even if he does, guy like Isaiah Likely against their linebackers, we said they were weak in coverage. That's a matchup I think you exploit. You can find guys like Rashad Bateman in the slot. They're different spots. I think you can find a good matchup against safeties, against linebackers, and that's really where the Ravens are going to try to, I guess, make their money on Saturday.
So tell me what you think of this analysis.
Hmm.
Last in 2019, when the Lamar interception to Andrews, one of the
Yeah.
criticisms on that play was, "Hey, we're the best running team in the history of the world. Why and the Titans don't stop the run very well? Why don't we just run the football the whole game?" Fast forward now, and and you established the run. That's like you were gonna put that on your grave one day. But that was a little morbid. Anyway, couldn't think of something else.
It probably would. It's on my Twitter, so might as well.
There you
It's
go.
in my Twitter bio. Establish the run.
But so, and I agree with you. I love run the football. I think any Ravens fan that watched the first Super Bowl run is like inherently committed to like running the football, right? However,
Plain defense. Run the
but
ball and play defense.
here's my analysis of the first drive of the game, because the first 10 15 plays are always scripted. And I watched Flacco. As much as I said the Texans had guys wide open, the Browns had guys. I mean, Flacco made a couple really tight throws, but they had guys that were wide open. I feel like what you just said about Lamar is true. Let's just come out, throw the football. Let's go down the field and let the ball be in his hands. And the main reason is for Lamar. But here's the second thing: the Texans right now have so much confidence on defense. You have two pick sixes. So, but their defense isn't great. So it's like this dichotomy of, if you come out and you go 3-and-out, or you run the football, even if you just run the football on first and second down and it doesn't go anywhere, or you try something, yeah, they're going to start to feel like they're better than they are. Like the Texans are not going to win 2 games in a row. But I hate to say, like, I don't think they can win the AFC Championship game, but the confidence level that they're going to have going into this first quarter is so high that the last thing we need to do is run the football up the middle and they're all juiced up and it's 2nd and 12, or we're
Yeah.
trying to do something fancy. So I think the strategy for the Ravens, let's throw the ball early and make sure that we get the lead, and not necessarily take chances on the outside. Like Stingley and Nelson are really like, don't make it too complicated. The middle of the field should
Yeah.
be open. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on that?
And I think that's where Lamar his strength has been. He throws over the middle of the field. He doesn't necessarily like to throw past the hashes, and it really does play into his strength. I think what I'm interested mostly to see is how DeMeco Ryans handles the not I don't want to say the pass rush, but lack thereof in the
Like
fact.
post it without trying to go after him.
Yeah. So what, we saw the 49ers say, they were like, we were trying to get after him, but you were more trying to, two guys would rush really hard, and then the other guys were more make sure he doesn't leave the pocket. And then you saw Lamar take advantage of that and find openings. So it is a weird strategy, because I don't think we've ever really seen this until recently, where teams are not rushing Lamar, to try to sack him
Well,
because
that's
they're
why. Well,
afraid.
to your point, the playoff. So going into the playoff week, you're allowed to. It's different than the regular season when you can put in a few more different things. We saw the Chargers in his first playoff game came out there with all the defensive backs. And Buffalo, I'd have to go back and watch it, but my recollection of that was they did a lot of not blitzing. There was a lot of forcing Lamar to hit the check down. Now Dobbins, I think, fumbled that ball, which really cost us in that game, and then Lamar threw the interception.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, I wish it wasn't D'Amico. Like, I almost wish this was like a Jim Schwartz defense. Like, I don't want a linebacker mentality going up against Lamar here, but I do think this is one of those things where it hasn't mattered being down 7-0 or having a bad start against so the Dolphins and the 49ers, both of those games were like, we're down, great, and it ended up not mattering at all. I just do not want the Texans having it's cold. They're not used to being cold. As soon as reality can hit them, because if they play this game 10 times, we're going to win it 8 out of 10 times. That's how I feel about the game tomorrow. but I don't feel like we're winning it 10 out of 10 times. So
No,
we shall see. I want to
no,
move
like
on.
you said, they're playing with too much. They're playing with confidence. They're, they're not better than the Ravens, but a team with that much confidence and nothing to lose, it's scary.
17-14 over the Browns last week, or 37-34 would have made me feel better. They actually feel like they're the better team, which
Yeah.
that's how sports work. Like sometimes you're not the better team. Like the
Mhm.
Packers think they're the better team. I don't know if that applies in every. I think once you get to this round, most of the times you do
Yeah.
believe it. So anyway, but I didn't even tell you we are going to do this, but I wanted to switch gears because my whole thing about the Ravens and the Orioles is like actually making sure we enjoy it. Like you can break it down and then you have to, I don't know, kind of laugh at yourself and be like, all right, like at what point do I admit that I really don't know what's going to happen? And Mike McDonald has got a game. He's not calling me for like my opinions on should Travis
Yeah.
Jones and Michael Pierce play more together. Like we can talk about it for another 5 hours. But I think the joy of being a fan is something that I wanted to spend a minute on. So Jacoby Jones, tell me, just want to throw a couple things at you, reminisce for a second, see what comes to your mind. But I would say Jacoby Jones has three distinct, because he's the honorary captain. So it
Yeah.
bring back a ton of memories. Focus on. So I think there's three memories or three plays, if you will, that
Mhm.
stand out. Um,
Yeah.
is there a fourth? Name the three. Make sure we're on the same page. And then what's the fourth
Oh,
one?
well, yeah, Mile High Miracle,
Right.
hail, not really hail, but the deep pass in the Super Bowl where he fell, got up, and then the run back.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I was combining the Super Bowl. So that I should have said four. So then combine the run back in the Super Bowl with the long touchdown. What's the other memorable play that sticks out?
Oh, Mike Tomlin.
Right. So what's the? I was trying to think off the top of my head without like getting on Google. I was like, I'm just gonna put Zach on the spot. What's the next memory of like a really big Jacoby Jones play? Is there another punt returning? I feel like he had so many plays, but nothing was like popping out. And I said that'll
Yeah,
be.
yeah, for some reason, I feel like okay, well, weirdly, my first memory of Jacoby Jones is him catching a toe tap in the back of the end zone for the Texans against us early in his career. And I was
Okay,
like,
that's not the memory we were looking for.
yeah, no, actually, that is horrible for this situation. But no, then I believe, I want to say he then returned one against the Texans with us.
All right, well, you'll think
Because,
about it, and then you'll give me some Jacoby Jones stuff later on your Twitter. But the reason I
yeah,
wanted to bring it up, him in particular, besides the fact that he's a captain, is you hear this phrase a lot as a kid, and then you hear it like when you're just watching sports, like be an all-star in your role, just do your job. Those are kind of like famous cliches. And nobody personified that more than him during the Super Bowl run because he was
yeah,
clearly the third receiver, but he was also clearly like fifth option, right? So you had Torrey, you had Bolden, you had Pitta, you had Ray Rice, and then you had Jacoby Jones for, 2 or 3 targets a game, sometimes maybe more. But when you do the best you possibly can, like every single freaking day, whatever that means to you at your job, you get those biggest rewards. So he goes down in Ravens history. Like you're really hard pressed to find. Like if I just put you on the spot and said Adalius Thomas or Peter Boulware or Michael McCrary, what's like your top 3 memories? You'd be like, son of a bitch. Like let me think for a half a second. But
yeah,
Jacoby, it's like, man,
like,
what the heck
oh, yeah.
without him, right?
Yeah, and that's really is just the power of, like, how magical these kind of runs are, because, like, it is about the players, who will be that next Jacoby Jones, who will be that guy that is the 3rd, 4th option that suddenly enshrines himself in Baltimore history, because Jacoby Jones, even though he was only here, and like you said, he was really like the 5th option on the team in the passing game for
Mhm.
3 years, and he's probably one of the most well-known Ravens of all time just because of that, that Super Bowl run.
And that's like the last. It's probably a little awkward. It won't be awkward for you to talk about it without being on like the Ryan Ripken show. But with him being the other, well, I forget which one. It's like the honorary Raven and then the
Yeah,
captain.
he's honorary captain.
So like what Cal Ripken, obviously we can talk about him here for a second, but like what he personifies that
Yeah,
allows us to be like relatable is just do
Mhm.
your job. Like, how about just show up for work every day? That would
Go
be a
for every
nice thing to
single
do.
day.
And
Yeah.
so it makes it easy, super easy to be like a fan of certain players. And this
Yeah.
Ravens team, I think it's been hard for certain people like myself, after the way last year ended and trying to
Mhm.
like, wait, do I have to pick a side here between my owner and my quarterback and my coach? Do I have to really think about how much money somebody's making? This stuff is all not Cal Ripken, Jacoby Jones stuff, right? Like those are the things I can relate to. So I'm hoping that this is like a magical run where, because when you look at some of the behind the scenes stuff this year, and that we just didn't have this kind of access even what 10 years ago, and the other like it's like chilling, right? This is such a connected team. So where would this go? Let's kind of speak it into existence. How does this run, considering on a personal level, this is the first time you've done content, so I know it
Yeah.
means even more to you. Where does this rank? Is there a special player that you're really pulling for? What do you let's
I mean, I just if I I want Lamar to get that trophy. I mean, that I've said it before. I wanna think I'll keep it together. As soon as I see Lamar hold the Lombardi Trophy, I will cry. I will cry. I'm okay with admitting it. I will cry
what's
just
it
because of
about
everything.
Lamar though? What's the qualities? Because I
It's
think
just
some
all
people just
about,
say,
falling in the draft, that he should go to wide receiver,
mhm.
he can't play quarterback, then it's he can't play quarterback well, wins MVP. As well, he can't win the playoff game, wins a playoff game, he can't win more playoff games. It's like the narrative always changed and the goalposts always switched for how we view Lamar and how the outside world wants to see him. And like the last thing that people can say is he doesn't have the Lombardi. And as soon as he gets that, you can't say anything. He'd be two-time MVP, two-time All-Pro, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, and at that point, that's Hall of Fame. I mean, there's no player has two MVPs and the Super Bowl and is not in the Hall of Fame. So it's hard to I think that would solidify him as one of the all-time greats.
I think the Lamar story that is most interesting to me is his mom, because when
Yeah,
he changed the whole way, because you got to remember, once you make the Super Bowl, now we have to run stories for 2 weeks. Well, the
oh,
story is, hey, if you're 12 years old, just find a competent adult. Could be your mom, your dad, your uncle. And how much money did mom make instead of the agent? Right. So I think his story
mhm.
transcends topics that we usually don't talk about, that I
Yeah,
really like to talk about. And I think there's
mm,
some people that are super uncomfortable in the national media talking about, because we are threatening the paradigm of having a sports agent, what it really means, because there's no gatekeeping information anymore. Anybody can figure out how to be an agent. You get licensed to do it. And if the best player in football wins the Super Bowl, wins the MVP, and his mom represents him, it's not exactly what the establishment would want. And things that threaten the establishment is always interesting. So Lamar's run really is going to be super impactful. And likewise, if he doesn't get it done, the story doesn't, it just, it kind of falls by the wayside, right? It is what it is. So I'm super excited for the game. Anything else on your mind before we sit here for another 2 hours talking Ravens? Uh-oh, can't hear you. That might be a good sign. This happened 3 times. There we go. It'll be a good way for me to end it. I said we should have gone live when this happened because there was 2 Zachs that popped up. So you can just stay here and then and I'll end it this way. This is great. But yeah, we were recording earlier and Zach couldn't hear Zach. So then the screen popped up and said there was 2 Zachs. I said that would be a good content. Then I hit record. Then Zach disappeared. So now it's a fitting way to end it. You can mouth goodbye if you want or just wave. You can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. Everybody have a good day. That better be a sign the Ravens are winning. It's just time for me to shut up. All right. Good luck to the Ravens. See you, everybody.